Folks,
Hey.
great to be with you this afternoon. It sounded like the sky was about to fall on us about 10 minutes ago, but it cleared up beautifully,
Just like Miami.
just like Miami. My name is Raul Moas. I am part of the Knight Foundation team. Knight Foundation, headquartered here in Miami, but active in 26 cities across the country, works to promote informed and engaged communities, and part of that is centering resident voice in the smart city conversation in how government builds communities that are more informed, more engaged, more active, better overall, residents at the center of it all. I am delighted to be joined here today by two incredible leaders in Miami, and I'm just going to turn it over to them initially to just introduce themselves, and then also share a little bit about, very little bit, about the universities and colleges that you represent.
I'm Madeline Pumariega, president, Miami-Dade College. We're your communities college serving 120,000 students from 163 different countries.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Grandal, and I'm the Assistant Executive Director of Operations for the Allen B. Levan NSU Broward Center of Innovation, which is quite a mouthful. We'll just call it the Levan Center for short. We are a public-private partnership between Nova Southeastern University and Broward County, but we serve the entire South Florida region. So I'll stop there and we'll talk about it more.
Awesome. Great to have you both. I see that Madeline brought the cheer squad.
Yes, I pay them.
They come
I follow.
So I'd love to center the conversation today on people. Smart cities aren't just about technology. It's not just about what widget or what dashboard we buy, but how we apply that. So the smart application of technology to improve community outcomes, and that means that we need people that guide us in terms of how we apply that, the context in which we apply it, all those things. And so I'd be really curious if we could start with you, President Pumariega. What is it at Miami-Dade College that has you most excited around whether it's smart cities or the application of technology to improve outcomes in community that you're focused on, that's got you kind of boomed up?
So I'd say it's two aspects, right? You, Raul, mentioned it's the people, right? Smart cities, when we think about technology, we can instantly think about just autonomous vehicles and, certainly broadband's important, but we'll think about just the tech part of it versus thinking about the people part of it. So the people part of it has me super excited. Everything we're doing with talent and artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and making sure that everyone in our community has access and opportunity to be smart in this smart city kind of landscape around skills development. But another aspect that I'm really proud of is what we're doing around our processes at the college. How do we make sure that we also not only drive our economic talent and give them access to that, but how do we be good stewards of being a smart city by our processes and what we're doing in terms of energy efficiency, our student having access to some of those smart technologies in their classrooms and all around the campus.
President Pumariega, you shared a few months ago that Miami-Dade College aspired to be the first college in the nation where every degree-seeking student would take at least one course in applied artificial intelligence, tailored to their context, their degree, their area of study. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Sure, and everyone said, how? And I said, through our faculty. So this past fall, we had 500 of our faculty go through AI training. So it didn't matter if you were in nursing or humanities or in English. You went through AI training. And just a month ago, we announced $100,000 in grants to our faculty that are going to be integrating AI in their curriculum. And it was from humanities to mathematics to healthcare to English. So I think about AI, and I really think about digital skill sets, right? At the college, students need to graduate with applied knowledge. We know that. History, geography, mathematics. They also need enterprise skills, those future-proof skills like design thinking, communication, ethical thinking, and reasoning. But then they need a digital skill set, which includes AI, data analytics, and cybersecurity. Right? And so part of that is looking at the digital skill set, not just for tech students, but across the board, whether they're teachers or nurses or going into psychology. And so we're doing that across our curriculum and not driven by a silo.
Terry, we think of universities historically as laboratories for society. as places where we can experiment, develop, ideate, places where we can kind of say things even that are controversial, but that push the envelope. What is it about the center that you lead that kind of is pushing that envelope? How are you all finding your way to kind of push the conversation forward?
So we're serving as a large collision station is what we usually say. We're bringing together academia, industry, government, founders, entrepreneurs on purpose to do exactly that, right? So we're serving from the technology side. We have a technology makerspace that's specifically there to test innovation. So whether it's the entrepreneur that has a new idea and the local government that wants to see how it works, we are that place where they can come and test it and reduce the risk of putting it out before they actually do. With that said, we're constantly incubating and accelerating these ideas as well. So we serve as the hub where the academia can meet with industry, then industry is meeting with entrepreneurs, and how do we link the whole ecosystem together? So it is a testing ground. We also connect with some of the research. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are looking for that research component, don't have it in-house. How do we connect them to the researchers within the university as well? But then also connect, because we're a P3, we're able to connect with other institutions. So if it's not at NSU, it's at Miami-Dade College. How do we bring Miami-Dade in? How do we bring FIU in, and so forth?
So one of the things that I think is probably going to be with us until the end of times, and I've picked up on this at the foundation because we work across the board, I hear industry oftentimes lament, and they say, if only universities would do X, Y, Z, then everything would be fine. And you go to colleges and universities, and they say, if only industry would do A, B, C, then we wouldn't have a problem. I'm really curious about this tension, which may be a healthy tension. Not all tension is bad necessarily. It may be a healthy tension. But what mechanisms, what really kind of practical frameworks or processes are you all implementing and developing at your universities to kind of address this reality that we sometimes speak past each other, right? That we kind of point the finger, look the other way. What we need is creativity in terms of mechanism to kind of make progress happen.
Yeah, Raul, you talk about tension. So a couple of years ago, we were at this big event at the Florida Chamber. I was then chancellor of the college system, and I was with my colleague, the chancellor of the university system. And before we came onto the stage, the moderator thought, probably this wasn't going to be the outcome to his question, but they were trying to engage conference folks with their phones to be interactive with a panel. So he asks everyone, take out your smartphone. I'm going to ask a question and answer it. And it's about 1,000 people in the room. And he asked the question, do you believe higher education is meeting your needs? So Marshall and I are backstage, and we're like, okay, this is cool. I mean, we got this. And we look, and it said 80% said no. So we look at each other and we said, you think we got to take the stage now? Right? So, throw away your notes. You're now looking at 80% who said you're not meeting their needs, right? And so I think one of it is communication. I think that there's an aspect of communication in terms of employers' expectations of students and what gets covered. And there's probably no better way than to inviting industry partners to be advisory board members. Like, if you want to shape the future of talent, sit down in a room when we're designing the curriculum and help us design the curriculum so that it hits your expectations as well. I think the second aspect of it is that it's not enough that you have a degree and done. How partners, industry partners, continue to level up their employee, the professional development aspect of it as well. And I think the third aspect is really internships. How do you get at work-based opportunities and readiness? It's really one of the high-impact driving forces is an intern. You have an intern for 16 weeks at your shop. They get to know your culture. They understand your SOPs, your expectations. And those are things that are not always going to be taught in the classroom. We can teach the data programming, but it's going to be difficult for us to teach your culture. And I think that internships is a great way where business can lead on talent management strategies.
And I would add to that apprenticeships, because I know with Miami-Dade College, when I was there, that's a lot of what we did, and I still advocate for that here, because apprenticeship gives you that extra level of building the personnel. And also, it's in our case, what we're serving is trying to serve, like I mentioned, a collision station. So we're doing a lot of the testing, right? So we're hearing from industry, we can't find the talent with the right skills, or they have the degree, but they don't have hands-on experience, which goes back to the internship and the apprenticeship. But so what we're doing is we're trying to work with other institutions of higher ed and trying to give that hands-on component. So a lot of the training that we're doing at the Center of Innovation is, with the cyber range for cybersecurity. So they have the hands-on keyboard. With the spatial computing, they're programming, they're using the robots that we have on space for the AI and the machine learning. They're programming right into the headsets. We're able to test all of that. And then the industry, to your point, the advisory council. We have a whole advisory council with community stakeholders from the entire region who are telling us what we need now, and we're actually listening to, which is also, I think, one of the things you hear, one of the rumors you hear, right, from other institutions is that the industry is sitting on an advisory council, but they're just putting it on their resume. They're not really inputting their information. Well, we're forcing them to talk to us and to input, and then we're actually listening and doing something about it. So I think that's a move that higher ed is doing. We're starting to see it at a little slower pace, but it's happening. I think the conversations are happening more often than they used to.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to build on the apprenticeship one because when you think about, we have a partnership with Tesla. And so we took the Tesla program and we replicated to Bean Automotive and Warren Henry. And so today we have 3 cohorts of our students who are actually employed, earning while they're learning. So they are employed with those automotive companies. They're getting the certifications that they need. And when they complete the program, they will be debt-free and get a raise. So I think those are ways in which you really do drive talent. But I don't want to leave the aspect of how important it is for companies like PepsiCo that invested in our Black Scholars Program. How do we make sure that we don't leave anyone on the sideline? And I think that's a critical aspect of what we do around driving smart talent for our communities as well.
President Pumariega, Miami-Dade College is massive, one of the largest, at times the largest college system in the country. It looks like Miami. Racially, ethnically, it looks like our community from top to bottom. I'm curious where, when it's so often thought that the college is but a stepping stone to something else, where is it you have found opportunities to say, no, this is a destination? Is it magic? Is it other programs? Is it things that kind of touch on smart cities and the context of this industry? Where do you think Miami-Dade College has an opportunity to kind of say, we are a destination for a lot of folks that look like this place? We're going to help not just kind of get you, if you want to go 4 years, great, but we can also just be the place that you choose, full stop.
So, when we think about equity and we think about driving smart change to the people, I think about we're a destination. So in Miami-Dade County, when students graduate high school and go to college, surprise, surprise, 60% come to Miami-Dade College. I think that when we're driving programs in IT like cloud computing, we're a destination from a certification to an associate's to a bachelor's. I think we're a destination when we think about cybersecurity and having an NSA program. Being certified by the National Security Agency is a big deal, right? And when students leave with that on their resume, they're going to be sought after because they are really on the keyboard. They're in the cybersecurity range, using their animation and gaming skills to combat cybersecurity threats inside. I think those are places that we're a destination. I really think our nursing program, you talk about healthcare and health tech, that's a destination. Get your RN in 2 years instead of 4 and get to work in a scholars program. So I think more and more, I am all about the partnerships. I think that we have to stay true to who we are. We're the community's college, and one vehicle is going to always be sending our students to our universities. And there's cultural and social capital they pick up there as well. But we're going to be the place, too, where students who don't want that 4-year degree or don't feel they have the confidence for that are going to come in and build and level up those skills, especially in the tech space as well.
Terry, does the same apply to NSU as a regional university, the context of a
So
destination?
Yeah, so fun fact about NSU, 70% of our students are graduate students, and NSU is actually known for graduating the most minority students in their graduate program. So it is a reverse model than your traditional university, which is why collaboration with Miami-Dade College is so great. We are very big on the health side. And health tech is a huge component, but so I would say from a destination aspect, I'd say that right now that's what we're known for, and we're all over the state. So we have 8 regional campuses in the state and 1 in Puerto Rico, and now we're expanding in other parts of the country too. So being a private nonprofit gives us that geographical reach. But yeah, so I would say health is a huge piece, and then now our College of Business as well, and then of course being the center of innovation, we're very aligned to both.
So we're going to pretend that we have magic wands for a second. Got a magic wand. There's one thing that Miami-Dade County or Broward County can do, whatever it is that you want them to do, that would make it easier for your institution to provide them with the kind of talent or the kind of program that furthers the smart city concept in the community here. What would it be? What's that one thing that you really want local government at the county level or municipal level that you wish, man, if they did that, that would open up a big green space for our institution?
You know, I think amplifying the message. I've always thought, you know, when you send mixed messages, people hear the message that's convenient to them. I think that county government has a role of being the amplifier of partnerships, the amplifier of the ecosystem. Like, we can't doodle-daddle about college is optional. You know, the truth is, while a 4-year linear pathway to a university maybe is not for everyone, what we do know in a smart city economy is that you need education past high school. And we have got to be clear in that messaging, because I don't think that our colleges and universities are the barrier into entry. I really believe many of our students choosing to bypass getting the skill sets, right? And so they don't go to college, they don't attend, and then all of a sudden the skill sets just move so quickly. You've got to, as an institution, it's a place we're proud of. Where do we create re-entry ramps? You know, if you didn't go into college coming out of high school, where can I create on-ramps for you? I think that government has an opportunity in terms of the way it can amplify the voice and investments about driving a talented workforce, just like what we do about climate and resiliency. I think government has a role there, and climate and resiliency has a critical piece in a smart city as well. And, you know, you think about what the mayor's doing around affordable housing and amplifying that, another key point. But I think, you know, you transform communities through the power of education.
I agree. That deserves it. On my end, the magic wand would be about breaking down silos. You know, South Florida, we work a lot in silos, and it's Miami-Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach, the local municipalities, the institutions of higher ed. So that's a lot of what we're trying to do, is break down those barriers, because if we all collaborate, if we all unite, then we can all lift the ecosystem, right? So whether it's from an education standpoint, is an entrepreneurship, it's testing from a smart city aspect and digital cities, how are we testing innovation across county lines, across city lines? Because right now there's still a little bit of that competition that goes on here, where it's like, oh, look what we're doing. Oh, no, don't share that with that information, because we have to do that. If we truly took a breather and realized that if we work together, we're going to get more done, I think that would be my magic wand wish.
Awesome. Hey, there you go. You mentioned resiliency and climate. Not a secret, Miami has some challenges, maybe opportunities in that camp as well. If you haven't seen it yet, a few weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago now, some fish ended up swimming in a parking garage when Brickell Avenue flooded. It was very odd, because it's like baby Manhattan in some ways, and there's fish swimming in the parking lot, in a parking garage. Got to keep it interesting in Miami. So for me, that was interesting for 2 reasons. One, the fish out of place was odd. 2, we didn't bat an eye. We kind of just like, oh, look, fish in the parking garage, and we kind of kept going, which I think speaks to kind of our resiliency. But I'm curious, as kind of the evidence is pretty in your face, like fish in a parking garage, that shouldn't be there, that maybe our infrastructure isn't poised to withstand a changing climate. I'm curious where you all are prioritizing your investments in that space, both in terms of centers of excellence at your universities and then the talent pipeline that you're putting out to be able to address these things, be able to address city demands, county demands, government demands, or private industry demands for a different skill set to adapt to that kind of reality.
I think when we think about climate and resiliency, right, there's a three-prong approach. The federal government and infrastructure has to play a critical role. I think state government and county government play another important role in terms of policies and investments that are set. But I do think in the education space, we play this other role, and it's how do you get students to think about they're the solutions of clean tech. They can innovate today around clean tech, that there is a space that technology may not be the only driving force, but we know it can mitigate some of the climate and resiliency issues we see just on consumption of energy, just on consumption of our behaviors. And I believe in that. I believe that if you empower people with the power of education, it goes back to who educates on climate and resiliency if it isn't the faculty in our classrooms when you're required to take a natural science course. One of the learning outcomes of the college is that you appreciate the climate, that you have an understanding that your job is to leave Mother Earth better than what you found it. What's your responsibility? So I think that there are opportunities not only just around tech and innovation, but about social responsibility to drive the next generation of policymakers who preserve and pay attention to the climate and to resiliency efforts.
Yeah, and on our end, we serve as the conduit. So we mentioned being a test pilot for other spaces, but it's also, being the safe space where people can test and fail and learn. So we're serving from the Center of Innovation is how do we identify the resources that exist worldwide, bring them here, and then connect them with our local municipalities to test those ideas that other people in other countries are doing. So we try to have that national, international impact, not only from us going out, but bringing out whatever is out there in here. And then how do we do that, whether it's research, whether it's entrepreneurship. So of course, the Center of Innovation's focus is entrepreneurship. So that's what we do a lot of our work. But then again, making that connection. So it's not just building and incubating and accelerating, but then how do we connect them to the right entities, those potential customers? And most of them, when we talk about smart city and the climate and resiliency, it's going to be the local government. So how do we bring local government to the table to listen and to think more innovatively to adapt these? And how do we then go to the policy piece that you're mentioning, right? So, okay, now how do we do this and how do we implement that?
Yeah, and I think, to add on that, the universities and colleges across the country and across right here in our community, we can also be kind of the thought partners around how do we in our own processes, in our own buildings, and everything that we do really apply smart technologies across the board. And whether it's our energy savings plan, whether it's our fleet, whether it's the way that we're building buildings or powering up buildings. So I think there's this other part where it might be harder for business and industry, could be easier with the right policies in place that our universities and our colleges become these ecosystems of smart cities.
So I'm going to preemptively apologize because we've come to the part of the conversation where we brag on Miami. My hometown, no city better than Miami. Sorry. Knight has 26 cities. This is clearly the best.
I agree.
Miami has been in the news these last couple of years, somewhat on Twitter, somewhat not on Twitter. Mayor Francis Suarez has been tweeting left and right about the city as a destination for tech innovation, as a destination for venture capital. I'm not going to lie. I'm all in. I love it. For those of folks that are here, those that are watching, those that will watch later, who maybe didn't have that understanding or perception of Miami as a destination for business or innovation, who thought, hey, that's a really great place for partying, or it's a great place for consumption, but not for exporting or producing ideas. What's the best way that they can either interact with your institutions, or what advice would you give them on how to come to the city and benefit from this culture of innovation that we've had? I'll do one quick parenthetical here. I think for a long time, Miami lamented the fact that it wasn't a Fortune 500 headquarter city. And that was a miss, I think, on our part, because what we have is better, in my opinion. We have a ton of people in the city. More than 2/3 weren't born here. More than half weren't born in the country, who are choosing to be here to build their own thing. And so the culture of this place very much is one of making and creating, not one of kind of following and being part of a bigger system. And that, I think, is a huge difference. So you've got a culture of innovation, you've got a culture of entrepreneurship here that has manifested in 1,000 different ways. All of a sudden, the city's on the map. People are paying attention to it from a tech innovation perspective. How does somebody from the outside plug in? What should they be thinking of?
So I would say, think about Miami as the future of the future. Right? Miami is not just the capital of the capital, but the capital of the Americas, the capital of art and culture and tech and innovation. And I think that if you're coming to Miami, you are coming probably from a city that we're looking in the rearview mirror. And it doesn't mean that that city's lost its juju, not at all. But we're looking forward. So I think that if you're coming, ride with us looking outward and not backward. We're not trying to duplicate or replicate San Francisco or Silicon Valley. We're not trying to replicate New York City or any of those that we thought were those centers. What we're building the future of the Americas. And it happens right here in our own vibrancy, at our own vibe, in our own pace, right? And so I would just say plug in to the momentum, plug into the movement, and think about how can you bring innovation and forward thinking and acceleration to the city and build upon excellence. I think that sometimes you want to come in and say, well, we used to do it that way where I'm from. It's not really going to happen. We're doing it Miami's way. We're not trying to be another city. We're trying to harness the capital, the talent, and the ecosystem of Miami to really drive, again, the future of what the world looks like, which is going to look like all of us in this room. I have to say, if you were doing this in another city, it would not have the color and flavor that this group has right now.
Love it.
And I think also understanding that even though the movement feels like it just started, it's been here for a long time. It's just getting the spotlight that it deserves now, right? So I'm very grateful that the big hype is happening. But the reality is when you look back, there's been a lot of innovation. Entrepreneurship has been the core for a very long time. It's not new to Miami. And I think as people come from other areas, they think it's a new thing for us, where it's like, no, you're just finding about it now. I've been raised in Miami. I work in Broward, so to me, it's the entire region when I talk about it. And there's been a lot of really good energy for a long time. It's just now, how do we package it correctly and make it grow further, right? And I think, and I'm going to go back to my messaging of the silos piece. There's been a lot of it. Everybody's been in their own little hole. Now, thanks to this movement, I think we're breaking down some of those barriers and saying, hey, where's the collaboration piece? You're doing some really great work. How do we do it too? How do we help lift you up so we can raise as well? So if you're coming, tap into the movement, find out what depends on what you're doing. There's lots of really good resources that are helping these technologies, this innovation lift forward. Of course, selfishly, the Center of Innovation is one of them, but there are so many others, and if we can't do it, then there's somebody else that we're partnering with that can help.
Awesome. We're coming up on time in a few minutes, folks. Less than a minute. Might have time for a few questions in case anybody wants. We can maybe get a mic available for some Q&A. I wanted one last question for y'all, because y'all are awesome.
We'll do speed round.
2023, quickly approaching. I've already started planning out kind of goals and objectives for the year. What is one goal and or objective for your institution that you've got for next year that some of the folks in this room or listening in might be able to help with?
MDC launches a metaverse campus.
I like that. So our big initiative for 2023, we're actually launching it in next month, is our Space Entrepreneurship Initiative. So putting South Florida on the map for space, for the space sector.
Awesome. All right. Are there any questions in the audience before we wrap up in a few seconds? Going once, going twice. Here in the front.
Hi, my name is Hector Camps, president of FICube, and a educator at Miami-Dade College, and an alumni of Miami-Dade College. Any thoughts about bringing the smart city concept to either institutions as a formal way of embracing the changes that are happening with technology and governance and big data and information management and these sort of information networks.
Yeah, I think both, right? Like, I think when we think about Miami-Dade College and our strategic priorities, reimagining the student experience is very much grounded in smart city principles, right? How do you develop that seamless, frictionless experiences throughout the city, which is Miami-Dade College, right? And these departments represent municipalities. I think when you think about academic excellence and innovation, how do we drive that in our curriculum? About everything needs to have that same kind of experience within that. And I think the other aspect to it is when we're thinking about technology and integration of technology. I think most higher education institutions and big government has not been short on technology and technology platforms and gadgets. I think that where we haven't had the fortitude and vision is to integrate it in a smart city platform so that everything comes together. If we all do it, then creating that becomes much easier, because just like you can charge your phone at any charging station, how do we develop that you can plug into all of these smart technologies, data analytics that everyone's doing in the ecosystem? So those are the changes we're driving at MDC.
And on our end, we're actually building, a digital cities lab within this Center of Innovation. And it's going to be a place, again, where we're identifying the resources that exist, bringing them to Florida, but then also creating the infrastructure for our entrepreneurs who are developing new technologies to use it there, and then bringing the local governments to use that to test out and hopefully implement these new technologies as they're developed. So we will be one of those hubs.
Yeah, and I think, again, I always often think about what could stop the flywheel of that. And if we don't continue to build on STEM pathways that look different than the only ones we have today, and we're focused on that. We have a grant from the National Science Foundation and others to build those STEM pathways. I think that's critical, starting much earlier than college, but really through K-12 into the college and university ecosystem.
Terrific. Madeline, Terry, thank you both so very much.
Thank you.